some reason it encourages more questions. And thanks to Barclays for sponsoring this talk. And our finances, it's a broad topic. So I've got 20 minutes. I'm just going to give, if I can get you to go away with just one thing that you're thinking about differently in your businesses, then this is time well spent. So I think the important thing is everybody's in business for a different reason. And particularly as I walk around the room, there's a range of different businesses, and some are quite small, some are growing, there are different phases. It's quite important for us to understand why we're in business. And then the thing is, well, so what? Why is finances important? Because that question why, in all of our businesses, is probably the most important question we can ask ourselves. Why do customers buy what we have? Why is this happening? Because it leads to understanding. So the whole thing with finances is that unless we understand our finances, we can't understand where we are now, and it then makes it difficult for us to understand where do we want to get to. Okay, so it's very important from that perspective. So the steps that we tend to take people through are, first of all, do I actually understand my business? So what type of business am I in? And in this case, I've categorized it into three sort of smaller categories. So the first is, am I in a commoditized business? And in a commoditized business, what I'm looking at is, I'm going to sell things at a certain price. I'll probably only be able to get a gross margin of around 20%. And by the time I then add in my indirects, I'm going to be making 10% or less. And I'll come back to so what. If I've got a differentiated business, okay, so something makes me slightly special, then I should actually be looking at margins that are higher than my 20%. I should be looking at margins that are about 40%. Okay? And then if I've got a niche or protected business because I've got IP protection or something that I can actually make sure that nobody else can do it, then I should be getting 60 to 80% gross margin. Now, why do I take this as the first step is because, actually before I do that, so how do I know? How do I know which business am I in? Am I commoditized? Am I differentiated? Am I in a niche business? Do I know what my customers are really buying and why they're buying it? Very important question. A lot of people then think that their business is always different. Okay, but they've got to ask themselves a proper question: am I properly different, or is it just my perspective? And the acid test, is if I raise my prices, if my customers go somewhere else, then I know I'm commoditized because they don't believe that there's enough differentiation there for them to stay with me. If I can raise my prices because I can justify to them that it's better being with me than somewhere else because of something I offer, then I am differentiated. And then of course, if I'm protected with IP or I know that somebody can't do what I'm doing and it's very difficult for them to work around, then I'm going to be completely protected. Now, so what? Okay, what does it matter? John, there are three categories, but how does this actually affect this whole thing of taking control of your finances? The important thing is, if I'm a differentiated business, but I'm sitting with 20% margin, then I should be able to price up immediately, make more profit, okay, by just doing prices. Because remember, price is your easiest lever to change. Okay, so I should be able to increase my prices and get more money from what I'm just doing at the moment. What's the down? And often people are a little bit scared to do that because they think, no, but I might lose my customer. What's the downside? The downside is you think you're differentiated, you increase your prices and your customers leave you. And what does that tell us? You're not. You're not differentiated. Or you're not selling the right thing to your customers in terms of explaining to them why you're different. And that perception is very powerful. Because I'm an accounting business. That's completely a commoditized business because if somebody comes to us for accounting, then they're going, well, there's an accountant down the street that does the same thing. So my job is to show them actually, why am I different? And then I should be able to charge a high fee because the customer sees the value. If I can't persuade them that we're different, we're commoditized. Simple as that. And so part of the thing for a business is, if I'm in something that there are lots of people that offer it, is how do I differentiate? How do I move to a position where I can get a higher margin because customers see the potential? And it might not be in my pure product that I started with. It might be in my customer service. It might be in the way I package things. Okay, it might be in the way that I go to market. There will be some lever that you're very good at that your competitors are not doing. And if you can then price up as a result of it, then you know you're onto a winner. Okay? So it's how do I move from commoditized differentiated? Because you're effectively making better profit without actually selling any more volume. Okay? By thinking about things differently or packaging it. The other key thing we've got to take away from this is where should I spend my time and focus my attention? Okay, because the hard thing about smaller businesses is we've got limited time. And we often find that we're spending a lot of time on admin, which actually doesn't make a big difference to our business. So the key thing about looking at your numbers, working out what type of business you have is where should I focus my attention? As part of that, 80-20 rule. So what are the things that make the biggest difference to me? I said price is the bet. Because what happens with price? If I increase my price by £10, that goes straight to my bottom line, ignoring the tax. Okay. Whereas if I do something else, chances are there's costs associated with it. If I invest in a particular, if I hire somebody that's then going to sell more, I've got to invest in it. So price is usually your biggest lever. And then the ones that have a slightly less impact of volume, because you've obviously got a production cost associated with it. And then changing your costs. Obviously, yes, that can have an impact if you reduce your costs, but it sometimes has a negative impact in that you are robbing Peter to pay Paul. If I reduce costs there, what's it actually doing to my business? Now, if you know what your business is, it might be that taking that cost out doesn't make a difference. Okay, but it might actually have an impact on the customer experience, in which case, just be careful of the trade-off. Now, that obviously depends on your business. So I can't say to you, boom, this is the one that's going to make a huge difference in your business without knowing exactly what your business looks like. Okay? And that's part of that understanding. Why are customers buying? So in terms of taking control, understand where you are. Okay, so a lot of the businesses that come to us, they're just not getting good data. So we advise them a lot to use good software platforms that give you real-time information on what's actually happening in your business. But do the work. So some of the things that you can do in terms of understanding your customers better is try something different and then measure it. What impact does it have? Now, don't bet the farm on it, but if you try it, once or twice, you can actually get some good feedback on it. Does it have a big impact in terms of the lead? Set your targets. So set your budgets, set up KPIs, do the 80-20 rule. Focus on the 80% of your customers that are making the biggest difference to your business. Okay, don't sweat the small stuff. There are some customers that actually aren't worth servicing because you're charging them the same price, but it's taking you 10 times as long to look after them. Okay, and when we're smaller, we think, I can't lose a customer. I can't lose them. They're so important to me. I've worked so hard to get one that we don't want to let go. But sometimes those ones are, you actually have to say, sorry, you're not right. And then the feedback loop, very important. Okay, so you've tried and tested these little things, which ones are working, let's work with it. So if the thing you're working for is customer service, so you're trying out a couple of tools. So chat to your customers, is it working, is it making a difference? Am I actually getting more leads that are or wanting to use my business or not? This is becoming increasingly important, but don't forget your risks. It's nice for me to talk to you about all the things you can do in your business, but don't forget the key things that make the businesses fail are no clear strategy where you want to go to, running out of cash, okay, because we're selling a lot, but we're just not collecting the money. Okay, so don't forget the things that happen in this type of environment. So the key thing that's impacting us now is inflation. Okay, so what's your plan to deal with that? Your costs are going to be increasing. What's your plan to make sure that your profit doesn't shrink because you're not doing anything with your revenue because you've never put through a price increase? Because you never thought you had to. Now you're not used to it, or you're worried that your customer is going to leave you. Okay, you've got to think about it and have a plan. So it comes back to this thing. So particularly in an inflationary environment. Okay, so often when we go and chat and we negotiate with a customer, we say, okay, it's about price. That is the biggest mistake we can make generally. Okay, yes, price is critically important to most customers, okay, but it's not the only thing. And there are other levers that you can use with a customer that you can say to them, I'm going to charge you the same as the person next door, but in return or I'll give you a 5% discount, but you're going to pay me in advance. Okay, or I'm going to give you a 5% discount, but I want a 12-month contract. Okay, so think about the optionality in your business that's important to you, because maybe you're getting, or move on to a retainer. Okay, so I'll give you a discount, but now I want you on a 12-month retainer because now I'm guaranteed some cash flow every month from you, rather than this lumpy stuff that I was getting from you before. So what are the things that you could also think about that cost you nothing to give, but are very valuable, they cost the customer nothing to give, okay, because all they care about is price, okay, but it's very valuable to you. Okay, so those are the things that every business needs to think about. From a price perspective, one of the things we often miss out is we've got one price for a particular product. Same thing, I mentioned the 80-20 rule a lot. It's actually quite a powerful thing in business, but there's always a customer that wants the diamond-plated product. That doesn't mean you have to have that for every customer. So you have a standard product, okay? You might have a bronze product, which is your low-cost airline, okay? You have a standard product, and then you have the thing with all the bells and whistles. And you will find some customers who want that. Okay, so by just tweaking what you do in terms of your product offering, okay, you can actually impact your pricing side of the equation. Because sometimes we find our businesses that our standard product, in order to make our customer happy, we're giving them the bells and whistles anyway. But they're not necessarily paying for it. And if we start to differentiate our pricing in the way that we present our product, we've got the ability to do that more effectively. Okay. Big topic. Short time. Okay, so I think if there's one takeaway I'd like you to get from this is understand your business and why your customers are buying from you. I'd really recommend you use a good platform to collect that data, because we often see people, they think they know what's happening, but they actually only find out 3 or 6 months later when they start to put together their numbers that maybe things are not as good as they should be. Okay, so get the data. Set yourself some scenarios of how I'm going to test things with my customers. How can I maybe try things a little bit differently? Get that feedback loop and go, okay, well, that's working or that's not. Okay, and if it's working, fantastic. Particularly if that allows you to differentiate. Then jump on that and make it a successful part of your business. Thanks for your time. I'm going to hand over to Rakesh.
Thank you.